Hi, this is Summer with Summer's Tips and Stitches, and this, my friends, is my finished poncho. Now, it doesn't look as good on Juanita because it was made for a 6-year-old boy who doesn't have the bust that she does. But this will give you just an overall look. So first I'll tell you the pattern, then I'll tell you the process I went through because I did make a few changes and adjustments, and then we'll talk about some of the colors because as you see it's different than when I first showed you. Okay, so the pattern I used came from Yarn Inspiration, Bernat Teddy Bear Poncho, and this pattern's seen better days. I have not put it in a sleeve. I will try to find a link and put it in the description below for you. The reason I chose this, even though it's on a Darling Little Girls, I thought this would be more appropriate for Flynn. Because he prefers to wear boy clothing. And I thought this looked more boyish than some of the diagonal ponchos. It used a G-hook and worsted weight yarn. And that is what I did. As you can see, this is a very solid fabric. It is not holey, typically like crochet. And that's because it used a double crochet and a single crochet rotation. Double crochet, single crochet, and it gave it kind of this square grid-like look. I've seen it called lemon peel stitch online. And this also, if you watched my video about my the infinity scarf that I'm working on with Seta, is the stitch I used because of this poncho. It's a very basic poncho. You start in the front, which you can't see down here. You start in the bottom and you just go back and forth with rows. So for a good long time it looks like you're making a square or a little bit of a rectangle. Then when you get up here, you stop. And then you create this little bit of a diagonal here, which you can't really tell because I've turned into a hood. And you go diagonal for a little bit, and that's where you're going to do 2 stitches on this side together. Go back over, come back over here, do 2 stitches together, because you're creating a line that makes it a little shorter. Then once you get off to this side, you finish off. Then you take another ball of yarn, or if you used a big pounder, 1 pounder like I did, I just took from the outside, did this other diagonal, which you can sort of see right here. So I went back and forth, 2 together, back, 2 together, back and forth. And then you do not fasten off here. You just go across and you start chaining for the neck. Now this pattern says it makes it for the size of a 6-month-old, a 12 to 18-month-old, or a 2 to 3-year-old. And because I was making this for my son Flynn, who is 6, when it changed from one pattern size to another, it added 4 stitches. So then I added 4 stitches to the neck. I'll turn Juanita around, because what it had you do from here to where you stopped your diagonal to here is chain across. And then you join it back over here where you stopped and finished off. And then you keep going back over here. At this point you're going to crochet in your chain. I know it's awkward, but we've all done it at some point. And then you just go back and forth, back and forth. Now right here, you guys can clearly see a color change. I know you can. I mean, it's not horrible. So what happened was, a few years ago now, or maybe a year or so ago, a friend gave me a large amount of yarn that she had got from someone else who inherited it from someone who passed. And there was no ball band on the yarn. It was just this big chunk of green. And I just assumed it was Red Heart because it wasn't the softest, but it wasn't, horrible. And so when I ran out, as I fix my hair here for you guys, as I ran out of that first big ball, that big skein, I just assumed, I went to the store, I grabbed some Red Heart Super Saver, and I kept going. And I didn't really notice a difference. Now, initially I did not use Red Heart Super Saver. Remember, you guys, I was going to do yellow because Flynn said he wanted a packer poncho. But it just was looking too bright and icky, in my opinion. So like I said, I went and got the Red Heart Super Saver and I finished off. So you can see the different tones right here. But it's not enough that the 6-year-old's going to care, and it's not like he's wearing this anywhere other than home while he's on the computer. And so I finished off this side, and you just keep going back and forth, back and forth. Now we'll turn one eater around. So after you've finished your poncho, essentially you'll have a very long rectangle with a hole in the middle. And when it came to doing his head, because I said over here on the neck that I added those extra stitches, when it came to doing the next rows down, I just did 2 stitches together in a couple places to eat up those stitches so that the rest of the poncho was rectangle. Because when you add them, you got to take them away. Otherwise, it was going to be too wide in the back. The hood was actually very simple. My husband, he always tells me that I can do something. I'm like, man, that's so hard. I'm not going to be able to do it. But the hood was actually very simple. After you finish going, making your giant rectangle, you just join your yarn here and you go all the way around to the other side, and then you go back up a row, and it's the same stitch. Now this, friends, I would like to tell you, when I started my hood, I was off. I think they want you to have 69 stitches. So what you end up doing is from here to here, you actually have a stitch to put a mark in. But when you come around to this back part here, because they want you to put 69 stitches through here, you're not going to have enough if you go into each individual stitch. So on some of them, you have to double up. And that bothers me because I like to be exact. I want 1 stitch per 1 stitch, unless the pattern says 2, or 2, then 1, then 2, then 1. And so I just was kind of like trying to space them out. And then when I got over here to the other side, I didn't have 69 stitches. I think, to be honest, I had 67 for the base of it. And I thought, you know what is 2 stitches going to do? I'm not going to redo it. So I just went with it. And then you just follow the hood. Now there is a pattern. They have you mark the center, and every X amount of rows you have to do a double stitch because you need to make this big enough for a head. So it's very simple to follow. And I'm going to tell you guys, I love the bear ears. They're so adorable. From here on out, I'm going to make ears like this. Basically, you just make a circle and you fold it like a taco. How perfect is that? In fact, on my amigurumi bear, which I usually have him poked over here, just a sec. She also has you make these circles. And I just sewed them on the bottom like this, but that other pattern right there, have you fold the circles in half. And it just gives you this, well, this is backwards actually. I would have folded in half like this and sewed the flat side. It just gives you a better half circle looking ear. So anyway, I love the pattern that they have in here for ears. And then basically after I sewed the ears and I sewed the hood, the hood is seamed down the middle because you go around, and eventually as you go around, it kind of folds in and you just seam it down the side. You just sew. And then you sew on your ears. And then right here, I sewed the poncho together with some yarn, and then I put a bit of a button on here. I'm pretty sure he's going to break these off. But these were Walmart buttons. I think I got like 10 of them in a pack for a couple bucks. And I'm going to be honest, I think if you look at that little child there, I did a pretty good job. It's all in green. Like I said, it was Caron 1-pounder green with a little bit of Super Saver green in the back section. But yeah, I'm actually very happy with this. This is the second garment. I've made shawls, and I made a poncho for myself. I made a poncho for my daughter. I made that baby doll shirt, which is in one of the earlier videos. I talked about making that, and so I'm real proud of this. Hopefully, I really ideally would like to pack it up and give it to him as a Christmas present. He's seen me work on it quite a bit. And I did have to measure the neck hole, so I had to put it on him. And then I did measure the hood, because I wanted, it gives you a dimension, but remember, this is only supposed to go up to a 2 to 3-year-old. So I had to measure his head to know how far up to go before I seamed down the head. So, yeah, I'm really very proud of myself for making this poncho. And I do believe that if you want to make this poncho after you look at my description for this link, for a larger child, just make the stitches a little bit bigger. I only added 4 extra stitches in order to make it bigger. And it worked out fine. I think this is one of these projects that's very forgiving, that if your stitch count isn't exactly on, because you're doing a double crochet and a single crochet together, if you need to like pull it together, do a couple stitches together, you don't really see the mess up. And I'm going to tell you 100% truth. There was quite a few, like 2 or 3 times in here where I would have double crochet, single crochet, double crochet, single crochet. And I just went with it. I just did the stitches, those 2 doubles next to each other, even though I'd messed up, because I felt like in order to fix it, I'd have to frog it, and I wasn't going to do that. So I just went with it. And you can't tell it all. And it's even, it's centered, the edges are straight. I'm very proud of it. So that is that. That is the poncho. Like I said, here's a little picture of it down there. It looks almost exactly like this. I might try to make another one in a smaller size with some cute baby yarn for like a little toddler. But as of right now, as for Christmas gifts, I still have to sew sprinkles together. Her parts are all still floating around in this bag. And then I want to make for my son, my other son, I don't know if any of you have children that play Roblox or you play Roblox yourself. There's a character in there called a noob person, and it's a yellow head, and he has these big goofy eyes and a big smiley face. And so I want to make him a hat that has the face of a noob on it, because he loves wearing crocheted hats. Last year I made him a beard hat. I made him a striped hat. He has an orange and a red and a blue hat. So I thought, oh, I'll take that yellow that I was going to use for Flynn's creeper. That's right up there. And I'll just make him a hat, a noob hat. So those would be the Christmas presents for my kids. Also, I'm still ordering from Etsy shops. So I wanted to show you what I have here. I'll hold this card up. I hope I say this right. I'm going to say Ann Sear. Ann Sear Homemade. This is an Etsy shop. Those of you who love watching crochet and knitters on YouTube, this is Random Randy's Ramblings. This is her Etsy site. Here's some info for you guys to check her out. Let's see if I can focus it on there. Nope. You don't get to focus. Maybe it's because I'm wiggling. Anyway, I saw this bag on her site, and I bought it. And I'm super excited because I'm going to use it for my next project. It's one of these. I want a drawstring bag so bad. And I was watching T-Doddle's tutorial on how to make a mini one. I don't know if you guys remember that. And then I bought a bunch of squares, which you can barely see on that shelf. And when I was watching her tutorial, I guess I have such a small amount of sewing skills, I didn't know what she was doing. You could almost say, really all I can do is sew badges onto Boy Scout and Girl Scout clothes. That's really all I can do. Well, I can sew a straight line. Yep, that's it. So I was like, oh. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to talk about Randy's Rambling in her Etsy shop and buy myself a bag. And that's what I did. And I really like it. She's got a nice strap right here also. And it's drawstring. And if you look, they're little Christmas llamas. And on the inside is snow. I almost think it could pass as reversible, but the seams are different. But yeah, that's the bag I bought. I'll put up her business card one more time if you want to check out. She has other things in her shop, but this is what I wanted to buy, a project bag. So if you want to buy something for yourself, a project bag, or someone you know that or love that is a knitter or crocheter, or some kind of person that needs a bag to put a project in, or just a cute bag. I think you could send your kid, like if they had a quick overnight that you had to do, like grandma, some underwear, socks, a toothbrush, and a toothpaste. You could stick it in there, and they could survive. You keep this in the back of your car for like an emergency. If you got something, you got to drop your kid off somewhere. Send them over there. But yeah, that is the shop, the Etsy shop I went to. Unique gifts and hand-dye yarns. Now, I didn't even look at those because I've seen her videos and I have seen her beautiful yarns. And as you know, I already have a situation going on over here. So I did not even tempt myself to look at those yarns because, folks, they were beautiful. She does some beautiful dye work. So, yeah, if you want yarn, you can also check her out. Ann Sear Handmade. But yeah, that's all I've got going on in the video. This is my finished project. I technically have that one whip, Sprinkles. She's going on a full week and a half of being in parts. And don't forget my giveaway. I've got that running. And yeah, that's about it. That's it. Hopefully, as soon as I get that noob hat done and Sprinkles sewed, I can start working on that knit crate shawl that I want to make for myself. All right, folks, thanks for watching and subscribing and sharing my videos. And until then, happy crafting.